Hey everybody, Zyle here. Welcome back to another Guides Not Included episode. This one we're talking about automating refueling steam engines. I'm going to give quickly a template overview of the systems for people who just want to follow my schematics and not actually watch the whole explanation in the video. So this is the basic look, and then here is the automation. And of course, this line is simply going down to whatever steam system you have to turn on a pump to start fueling it up. But that is the whole automation system for your reference. Please note that this line cuts through both reset ports on the signal counters, same as here, through both. It's important. You can't see the line, but it's going through both. Then the gas pipe overlay. The only thing you care about is the purple line because that is the steam line. Steam comes up from whatever system. It goes and splits into two gas pipes. This is a dual system. If you only want one, then you don't need a lot of the extra automation for the split stuff. But this is designed for two rockets. So if you were just doing one, you wouldn't need the valve. You would just run it straight in. So that is where the split happens. It runs up into the rocket ports. Down, there's a vent here for exhausting the excess, so you never have the steam trapped in the pipes, and there's a gas pipe element sensor for detecting the steam packet. So okay, that's the quick overview shot for anybody who just wants to simply look at my schematics and not watch the whole video. But please, if you are going to do that and not watch the rest of the video and you're going to try to use my systems, I really would like it if you could consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. All right, on with the explanation. The way that the problem occurs is that unlike, say, a rad bolt engine, we don't have a output to tell us when the engine is full. On the rad bolt engine we do. So when we're doing some kind of automation for stopping the fueling system when it's full, it's easy to do because we have that sensor. On a steam engine we don't have that. So we have no way to know when the steam engine is full to automate fueling. So the way that we do that is by working with the various inputs that we do have and coming up with the system I've created that will actually know when it's full and control the fueling automatically. So the whole premise of this is a rocket will land and it will be refueled back up to full, and then the system will shut down so you're not generating steam and pumping it through the pipes for no reason. Why did I create this system? Well, the old way of doing it was you've got your steam creation system, whatever your source of steam you have. That's not what this video is about, but you'll have a source of steam and you'll be pumping it up to your rockets. And normally I just have a switch to turn the pump on and off. So when I want to fuel a rocket, I turn my switch on and it pumps the steam up until I'm done, and then I turn it off. The problem is that I'd have my rocket sitting here, and I run a lot of missions with these. They're constantly going off mining and coming back. As you can see, they're designed for mining, right? So they're in and out constantly. They only come back to refuel, then I want them to go again. So what would happen is I'd turn on the steam system and I'd set it to refueling, I'd forget about it. I'd go off and I'd be doing something else, or I'd get distracted, a problem would occur, and then a couple cycles roll by and I'm like, oh, I forgot to turn off my steam. So I've been basically just venting steam into space because the engines are full. That's the bypass system. So I wanted to have a way to automatically refuel it, and I was quite disappointed when I found out that no, there is no port to send automation to know when it's full. So I came up with this system. So I will explain fully how it works. So the main thing is we have to look at the things that we do have as ways to get information, because logic automation systems are all about taking the variables and the information that we can get our hands on and using that to then make the events happen that we want to happen. So we do have two things that we can determine. One, we can know when a rocket is on the platform, and that's important because we don't want to be fueling unless there is a rocket here. The second thing, though, is because of the way that we need to vent out steam lines. As everyone knows, if you leave steam trapped in these pipes, they will slowly cool and then they will turn into water, break the pipes, and water will appear or vent into space. So we're always, when we make our steam systems to fuel rockets, we don't let the steam just build up and wait till we want to use it, because it'll turn into water. What we do is we run this is where we go into the steam engine, and then we run a pipe as an off pipe. So if the engine's full, the steam will then bypass it, and we vent it into space. And that's how we get rid of the steam out of the system when the engine's full. So since we know that if an engine is full, then we will start venting. In other words, there will be no steam in this line unless this engine is full. And when steam does start to go out this line and get vented into space, by putting a gas pipe element sensor set to steam, when a packet hits here, we will then know that this rocket must be full. There's no other condition that would allow steam to pass through. So that's the other variable that we have. So that's where the system begins. And so this part from here upwards is for that control system. It is, if you're doing a single engine only, then you only need this system. You do not need all of this extra part. All this extra part is so that you can do 2 rockets at the same time. And of course, if you want to do 3 or 4 or so on, then you could probably do that. But I wouldn't recommend trying to do one single pipe. There'd be a fueling system for 4 rockets, for example. You do, one pipe, one pump for 2 rockets, and it works quite well. So this is designed for 2. So we'll follow the logics through here on first for what that system is. So basically it's like this. If the signal here is green, meaning yes, a rocket is available, it is landed, we do have a rocket here, okay? And because I know whenever the state of this changes, it's either on or off. If it's on and a rocket is here, then I want to give it steam. It very likely, if it's left and come back, it's not full. So that condition, when the rocket is here, means, okay, let's fuel it if it needs fuel. The signal, green, saying a rocket is here, goes down into this filter, which is set to 20 seconds. The reason that I set that to 20 seconds is because of a logical problem that's going to occur with how this is set up, but also because when rockets are landing, they actually are considered on the platform while they're landing. And you can experiment with that, but trust me, when the rocket is landing, okay, before it lands, this goes green. And you can see that right here. This rocket has not landed yet, but this platform is saying there's a rocket here, okay? So that is part of why I have that timer delay on there, just to give it more time to fully land before the steam turns on and starts pumping. So, and you can see on this one, it's just about to land, and it is sending green, but the filter is almost done. So it still hasn't started to tell it, hey, there's a rocket here, let's start fueling, okay? So that's where that goes. And when it finally gets through this and turns green, it goes into a signal counter. Signal counters are very powerful tools in automation, and oxygen not included. And a lot of players don't use them, probably because they don't fully understand how to use them. They can be used kind of for 2 purposes that are related to how you would write computer code if you were writing scripts, or any type of code that needs that type of loop logic. So they sort of are like what we would do in coding, which is a loop. Like if we want to do something 8 times, we would do loop 8, or whatever type of code you're working would cause a routine to execute 8 times and do something. Or they could be used as a while statement, or if until, that type of stuff. So basically, let's say you want to do something 5 times, you would set this to 5. And every time this receives a fresh green signal, okay, not a continuous green signal, but a fresh, new, interrupted green signal, it will put the counter up 1. And so if you had something that had to happen in the game 5 times, and every time it happened, it sent the green signal briefly, this would start counting. And when it hits 5, or whatever number you have it set to, then this part will send a green signal. And note, these are I've put these in upside down just so they'll fit in better. They can go either way, up or down. The way you know which the direction flow is by these arrows. You can see there's an arrow here, and it's flat on the inner part and it's sort of pointed on the outer part. So this is the input for the signal to adjust the counter up one, and this is the output once we hit the number we've set to. So 1 of 1, for example, is what I have it set to. When it's 1 of 1, it starts sending a green signal. The other thing is the reset. The reset button in the middle will reset the signal counter back to 0. So if it ever gets a green signal, it will go 0. And that's why I have this part set up here, is to have it reset. And the way that works is, right now a rocket is here, so it's saying green, and it's going into a NOT filter, which then is outputting red. Okay, so red will not reset it. But when the rocket leaves, this will go red, and then of course the NOT signal will make it green. So if a rocket is not here, we want the fueling system to be reset. So then when the rocket comes back, it will go through its routine to start doing the fueling. That's what that's there for. The signal switch is here so I can easily reset both of them if I want to. Now you can also just click the reset counter, but I just prefer having a signal switch so I can quickly reset both of them for testing. This part is completely optional. You do not need it. So this one is now, when the rocket lands, it will say 1. There's a rocket here, and start sending the green signal. If there is a rocket here, then it is part of the equation of saying we should fuel, right? So you can see the two states. This rocket's been here for a while, and it is saying, yes, there is a rocket here. This is set to 1. And over here, this rocket is just landing, and as soon as our filter finishes up, it will send a green signal, and this will turn to a 1, and I'm going to show that in a minute. And then this also says, yes, there's a rocket here. Okay, but that's not enough to kick the fueling off, because we also want to know if it needs fuel. So we assume when a rocket comes back, it needs fuel. And that's why this would have been at 0. And you can see over here, because the rocket's not arrived yet, it's at 0. Okay. This one is fully fueled. If we look at it, we can see that it has 150 kilograms. It is fully fueled. And this system has detected that. A packet, because it was full, because it got filled, steam then bypassed, came through here and triggered this. And once this triggered, it sent the information here and caused this counter to increase from 0 to 1. And that tells the system the rocket's full. That outputs a green signal, which, because we need to reverse the decision, the rocket is full, so therefore do not fill it. We put it through a NOT gate, and now it's saying, no, we do not need fuel. So this is saying, rocket here, we need fuel. This is saying, rocket is here, but we detected that it did not need fuel because it started venting. So do not send fuel. So that's why this one, when it's at 1 and 1, is telling the rest of the system, and this is your main output. It's saying, no, we don't need fuel. Again, if you're doing only a single rocket, this would be where you would send it straight through to your pump, off or on. You would not need the rest of this. And so that is the steady case for that. Now, what you're doing with the dual one, though, is allowing double fueling. Okay, so it gets more complicated, but it's honestly, it's not that difficult to set up. I mean, if you just do what I've done here, it will work. But we'll follow through then on what occurs. Okay, so now we have a state where rocket needs fuel. Okay, let's assume this is pumping green. The first thing it's going to go into is an OR gate. And this OR gate is so that there are two possible reasons we would turn on this gas shut off and allow steam through. The first reason is because there's a rocket and it needs fuel. So that's one condition that would cause the OR gate to fire. And if this does go green, then it will output into this buffer. And the buffer I have set to 45 seconds. And the reason I have it set to 45 seconds is because of how long my line is. Why we have this buffer is because if the rocket was suddenly full and the signal went red, then the gas valve will shut off immediately. And then steam that is trapped in the line will not vent through. Right? So that's the problem, because you're using gas shutoffs related to this. Now, again, it doesn't matter if you were doing just one rocket, it'll just vent itself out. But when you're doing two rockets, you have gas shutoffs involved. So if the condition is the rocket's full, it wants to keep this gate open to let the extra fuel bypass out of the system so there's no steam left in it. So that's one reason that we have that hooked up in this way on this OR gate. The other reason, though, is that we're dealing with two rockets. If we have one rocket fueling and the other one finishes and doesn't need fuel, then we don't want this one to periodically vent, okay? But we do want it to periodically vent simply because we are going to get a packet stuck right here. This is just the nature of how this works. If you're fueling this rocket, there's going to be a packet that will occur and go here and sit here. And it will slowly cool down and turn the water and break the pipe. So we have to purge that every now and then, just again, because it's going to happen. If I fuel one rocket off from the other one, that packet will stuck there on both sides. So the system will account for that. And that's what this timer is for. We have this timer set for to go off one every 300 seconds. Okay, so it'll click off twice a day, and it will send its signal into this AND gate. Why we have an AND gate here is because we don't want to start venting this packet out if we're fueling a rocket, because that will achieve no purpose. We'd turn it on, we'd vent some out, which would just dilute what we've been sending to the other one, but it would then close itself down, and if this is still fueling, a packet will be stuck here. And it'll be going both ways. So we only want this to trigger if the other one's not fueling, and that's why we have this. From the other main output of our secondary rocket, we connect through a NOT gate. So this NOT gate will be telling it, unless there's no fueling going on, don't vent. Right? So I know it's a little tricky to understand, but it does work. So if one of them is fueling, basic premise is, if one of them is fueling, don't do this purging. But if it's not fueling, which you can see this one hasn't landed yet, so it hasn't started fueling yet, so it's saying I'm fine, and then we turn through the NOT getting green, it's saying okay. So if this timer were to trigger, it would also say okay, this would go green, and that's the other OR condition. Either we were fueling and then suddenly we were fueling, so we need the valve open, or we want to do a purge, so we need the valve open. Right? And they both are hooked up in the exact same way. I couldn't do it perfect reverse mirror image because of spacing, so they're like both going the same design, but they both do the exact same thing. And you can see the main output is hooked up to that one, and then the main output runs around and is hooked up to this one. So they are talking to each other so they don't start purging when there's fueling going on. Lastly, because I have two rockets, we fire them into an OR gate. So the OR gate is saying if either one wants fuel for any reason, then we can send it down and tell it to turn the pump on. So if this one wants fuel, it'll send a signal, the OR gate will turn the pump on. If this one wants fuel, it sends a signal, the OR gate will turn the pump on. Right? And the signal will not go and impact anything else, like because of the there's no backflow on the wires, in other words. Okay, so you don't have to worry about a green signal passing through the system and confounding some of the other stuff. So that's basically how the entire logic is set up on the system. Now I'll demonstrate how it works. We have a rocket that is about to land, so we have two states right now. We have 0, 0. And when we see 0, 0, we know that it means no rocket, no fueling, which is exactly what's going on. When we see 1, 1, it means rocket and fueled. So when I'm playing and I'm come to check if my rockets are steamed, I just have to look for 1, 1. If I see 1, 1, I know it's fueled and ready to go, so I should get the pilot and get things started. So when I see 0, 0, of course, I see there's no rocket here. So what we're going to see, I'm going to hit unpause, and what we're going to see is this is going to land. And I just flew it up into space real quickly and then brought it back down again. So as you can see, the steam that is going to be in here is very little, but it doesn't matter because there is something in it. It's going to click and it's going to fuel it very quickly. And that'll allow you to see the system like basically go through the motions without us having to sit here and wait for it to fuel a whole rocket. So I'm going to unpause here and you'll see all this start to trigger. So rocket lands, you can see now it says, yes, there's a rocket here, 1. So now I'll pause it now, since this is activated, and you can see the logic. The logic is now saying we need fuel, right? We need fuel. This is 0. We're not full yet. We have not received a signal telling us that we're full. And this is 1 because a rocket is here, so we should need fuel. And sure enough, it is going all the way through here, into the OR gate, down to here. And if we check, we can see the steam has started to flow. And it will start to go to try to fill the rocket up. I'll just wait a moment while that comes up. And again, we have this one is 1-1. So it doesn't want any fuel. So this valve is shut off and this one is on. But you will see one packet will go in here and get jammed, and then it will sit there once it's full. There it is. It's full now. So there's 1,000 grams of steam just sitting here, okay, which will cause us problems if we don't purge it. But notice that this system will not purge it while we are fueling. So if we check, we can see that inside here, we're at 127.8, and we'll wait till it gets to 150. It doesn't take very long to fuel it. And what you'll see is that as soon as it hits 150, we'll watch it as it happens. It's going to be now full and bypass. Green triggers, and this goes to 1-1. Okay, now that it says 1-1, check the automation. It's saying stop sending fuel. But because of the way that it's set up, it's going to have some extra in the line, right? So it's stopped now, but it has extra in the line. So it's simply going to just vent that out. And again, steam is not such a valuable resource that venting this amount out is a big deal. So we'll completely vent all that out. And now they're shut off. Now you'll see a little bit got stuck there. So number 1 is my 45 seconds, probably really should be 50 seconds. It's just a matter of playing with it till you measure it for the amount of time. So we'll set these to 50 just to try and fix that. I've been experimenting. But the main thing is why I want some steam still stuck in the system is to now show you about what do we do with this, about the purging system, right? Remember I talked about these timers, okay? And both sides have a packet. So if I go now, it will, again, steam takes a while to cool down. So it's not like we need to get rid of it real fast. But basically when it finally swings around and triggers, it'll vent. So I'm just gonna reset the timer and then we can see how that works. You see? Boom, there it goes. And that will then just simply go and vent out, and it will not affect any of this because this has already been told I'm full. So it doesn't interfere even if the rocket's there. If the rocket's not, it doesn't matter, because if the rocket's not here, then the signal will be resetting these back to 0 constantly, so it will never ever, it won't foul it up, right? But don't forget, we still got this one packet here, right? So that's why both sides need that automation. But I can do the same thing here if I wanted to. Again, I can just wait. I don't have to do this. It'll take care of itself. But just to show you how it works, we can reset that, and that one packet will go through the system and flood it. And so that's how that is a fail-safe fueling system, where it's not going to accidentally break your pipes, and it's going to fuel your rockets automatically when they land. So we'll do that quickly with this rocket, and you'll see what happens. So I just hit the launch sequence, send it off, and boom. As soon as it's leaving, it's not present. And automation is telling us red, but this one goes green and resets the counters. So the whole system is now primed for refueling the moment that that rocket returns. So that's how the system works, and it works pretty flawless. Makes life a lot easier. So we'll give you the one last look at all the systems for reference. They're at the start of the video as well. How all the automation works. Again, solo rockets this part, double rockets needs this part. And then as well, the gas layout is very simple. Your line coming in, split it into 2 valves, run it up into the ports, and out a vent into space, and add the pipe element sensor. Pipe element sensors are set to steam. The filter gate is set to 20 seconds. These are set to all 1. The buffer, I have 50 seconds. You need to play with it to suit your own needs. These I set 1 of 300. You can set them as you feel. They can be set shorter or longer, as long as you're not getting pipes bursting. I just go with 1 of 300 because it works. And other than that, it's a pretty simple system. It works really well, and it solves the problem of not knowing if the rocket is full or not. So we can do automatic fueling the same way we would do for the more advanced rockets. Anyways, if you liked the video, I'd appreciate if you hit the like button and consider subscribing. I plan to be making lots of videos like this that are covering more advanced systems that a lot of videos or guides don't exist to. Most of the things that I do guides about are my own designs. I don't just take the information that's already out there or take other people's guides and talk about the same old stuff that we already all know. Most of the stuff that I come up with on my own to serve a particular need that I've found in the game that I want to solve. And then I create a system, I test it, I make sure it's working perfectly, then I'll redesign, package it nicely so that it looks good, and then I'll make a video about it. So subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I appreciate you watching the video.